On today's Chasing the Game, we have Toledo sports legend Terry Crosby. We talk about his career at DeVilbiss, playing college basketball at Tennessee, the NBA, playing overseas, and what's it like being back in Toledo. Chasing the Game starts right now. Welcome into Chasing the Game. Terry Crosby is here. Terry, thank you so much for coming in studio, being a part of this. Just how's life? How are things? Thank you for being here.
I'm doing absolutely great, Chase. Thank you very much, man, for coming in. You know, I've followed your show for quite some time now.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm, you know, I was really impressed with everything you do for so many people. So, yeah, things are great, man. And enjoying the summer, the 90-degree weather. And,
yeah.
That's been nice. You know, I like the heat. I don't like the cold.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate that you watch the show.
Right.
Like you said, summer's been hot. I don't know, you someone who still works out a lot all the time.
Right.
Just what's that like, you know, trying to get exercise in? Do you get shots up in this heat, or what do you do?
Well, you know what? I haven't got a lot of shots up. What I typically like to do, I like to go to our beautiful metro parks.
Yeah.
And I just stroll, man. I just walk. And I'll walk for an hour and a half. And before I know it, you know, I've got 10,000 steps in and 5.3 miles. So, you know, in the summer months, I love to just walk.
Yeah.
I really do. And walking works for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really does.
No, I'm someone who, I walk, I run a lot. So I was curious about that, if you're still getting shots up nowadays.
Oh, no. If I try to get some shots up, I would be bricking, seriously. I'm so out of touch.
Well, I wanted to ask you, we can start way back at the beginning, when you were growing up in Toledo, at West Toledo, right, is where you grew up?
Absolutely.
What was that like growing up as a kid? I mean, did you play in a lot of different parks? Was there one particular park that you played in? Where did you kind of grow up? Where did you shoot?
Well, man, I grew up in an absolutely beautiful village. It was a village, you know, all the kids in the neighborhood, all the parents in the neighborhood. We all got along really well. We supported each other. And we would be outside literally playing from every day. This is every day. You know, summer, winter, fall, spring, it didn't matter. We'll be outside from like 10 o'clock to 10 at night. You know, just playing all type of different sports. And to be honest with you, I didn't learn my trade, or I didn't get better at sports like necessarily when practice started. I think, and this applies to a lot that I play with in my neighborhood, I think I got better because that's all we did every day was play sports, you know. At one point we played football, tackle football.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, like, you know.
Right.
The next point we'd be shooting the basketball, you know. Next point we'll be throwing a baseball somewhere. So we were actively involved and just, you know, I really believe that helped all of us in regards to our skill sets.
Is that the reason, I mean, there were so many talented kids that you were growing up with.
Right.
Is that the reason that maybe there aren't as many talented kids in the City League, or just in general, you guys were out all the time? Kids,
Every day.
Yeah, they weren't out the way they are, you know, 30, 40 years ago.
And I get so sad, it brings tears to my eyes, Chase, because if on any given day, I don't care what day it is, it could be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, if I were to drive around the entire city of Toledo, I wouldn't see one person on the playgrounds. And that's sad, you know what I mean? The playgrounds is there to, of course, enjoy recreational play, and there's just nobody on. But, you know, times have changed. Yeah. And I so wish that times were like they were back then, you know, because I think it'll be less crime, it'll be, you know, better results, you know, kids will be a lot more successful, you know, get off the computer games and get on the playground.
Yeah, I was reading your book this week in preparation for the interview, and you said, I think on your left wrist, you got a scar still from a pop bottle, is that right?
From a pop bottle, it's right there.
Yeah, because there it is right there. I don't know if we can get a close shot on it, but you can hold it up there. Yeah, can we get camera one on that or something?
Yep.
Yeah, there's like a really nasty scar on there. What was the story exactly with that? How did that happen?
You see it's bad, right?
Yeah. No, you're all carved up, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, they didn't have the hospital technology that they have today. So I'm in Clinton Park on Clinton Street, right?
Yeah.
And we're playing tackle football, right? Yeah. And we're playing 3-on-3, right? And I'm breaking away. Boom, somebody comes from behind, hits me. I slide, and as I'm sliding, there's a jagged edge glass on the ground, just like jaggedy like that.
Yeah.
And as I fell down, it scraped against my arm right there, right?
Yeah.
And you would not believe it. I'll never forget. My arm was open over there, open over here, and all I could see was white bone.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh my God, what's going on here? Like, you know, so I literally ran from, we stayed on Parkdale then, but I really ran from Clinton Street to Parkdale, was like 2 or 3 blocks away. And I'm bleeding profusely, you know what I mean? And my mom was like, oh my boy, God, what did you do? You know what my dad said? Because he kind of raised, he always, everybody knows Leon Crosby is like, my son's a Viking, he's a Viking, you know what I mean? He said, he'll be all right, just wrap it up in some, you know, wrap, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
She said, Leon, I'm not doing that, you gotta take this boy to the hospital. So they end up taking me to the hospital straight away. Yeah. And I don't know, back then I think I had like 38 stitches.
38 stitches on that scar. Wow. Let's do one more time. Can we get a look at that? A close up, if you can get that somewhere. Marcus, our camera guy, you can just keep it up. You can hold it up to the camera. Get kind of a close up of this thing.
Can you get a close up?
Because it's nasty. I mean, it's all over his wrist. Yeah, there it is, right there.
Okay. Yeah. It's right there.
So that's a look at it for our YouTube audience, for our Plus audience who's
and it looks like a bird. It looks like that's the bird's head, that's his body, and that's his feet.
Kind of shifting to what you were talking about earlier, how things are different today now than when you were coming up. Kids have NIL, kids have social media, like you were saying. Could you imagine if you were coming up the way you did? I mean, you were a highly recruited athlete.
Thank you.
No, I mean, you were. I mean, just all the social media that would have been talking about you, or the NIL deals that people would have offered you. Could you have imagined how you would have handled something like that?
You know what? I think I would have handled it extremely well. And now, if that was the case, if NIL was out when I was playing, I'll be a multimillionaire. Seriously. I mean, you know, to kind of be an All-American in 2 sports, and I'm not talking about, you know, just in Toledo, Ohio, but that's nationally. You know, I was Street and Smith All-American in both football and basketball. That's the highest honor at that time that you can get in either sport, you know what I mean? So I am regrettable. Sometimes I'm thinking, oh my God, why didn't they have NIL when I was playing, you know? I think, and this is kind of a funny story, I think that one of the best highlights I got in my 4 years of playing both basketball and football at DeVilbiss was like a 20-second clip of me on WTOL Channel 11 with a guy called Oris Tapner back in the day. That was it. The whole 4 years I was here.
It's just crazy how much, you know, high school sports has developed since then. Big board wasn't a thing back then. You know, social media, like I said. I mean, if you were around today, I mean, we would have probably had a ton of highlights of you. You talked about your college journey, the recruitment journey in your book. You talked about Tennessee being, if you had to do it over again, not the school you would have gone to.
No, not at all.
Where would it have been? Would it have been Ohio State? Would it have been, where would it have been if not Tennessee?
A lot of people don't know this, but I literally had over 200 D1 scholarship offers for both football and basketball, right? And I tell the young kids now that I speak to and I try to inspire and motivate, you know, be very, very conscious and careful of the university or the college that you choose, okay? Because the thing about, and it's all political, and I really realize that now, you know, each region in our United States, they're gonna look after their homegrown. They're gonna look after their own people. For instance, Tennessee recruited a lot of people from, what? State of Tennessee, state of Georgia, state of Alabama, okay? That's their homegrown, right? So if I had to do it all over again, I would have definitely went to the University of Michigan, played for Bo Schembechler or Woody Hayes at Ohio State. I don't think I could ever play for Bobby Knight. He was too much at Indiana University. He was too much of probably a disciplinarian for me. But I would say if to give me the best opportunity, and people always say to me, you shouldn't play basketball, you shouldn't play football. No, that's not the case. When you're All-American in 2 sports, you're going to play your favorite sport, even back then. I think the mistake I made was taking my talent from the Midwest, where everybody knew about TC, Terry Crosby, in the state of Michigan, in the state of Indiana, in the state of Ohio. Took all of my talents all the way down south, and that was the mistake.
Yeah. So did Bobby Knight recruit you? Was he in your home? Like, what was that like?
His assistants.
His assistants.
I never really physically got a chance to meet Coach Knight, but his assistants was there.
And so what was kind of the pitch? Did they just say, come play for Coach Knight, he's one of the best, and this is right about the time they're going to win their first national championship?
Absolutely. I think my senior year, 1975, I think that's the year that they did win the national championship.
Yeah.
With Quentin Buckner and McGinnis and all that crew. But yeah, they sell their services. They all say the same, pretty much. Come play with us. You're going to be vying for a starting position. Blah 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 blah. And once you commit and once you attend, then really all of the control I had before, they now have it. Mm-hmm. Okay. So once you get there, they can pretty much do anything they want to.
Was Tennessee maybe the only place in the country, because it was the Bernie and Ernie show,
absolutely,
that you couldn't start right away as a freshman? Was that the only place, or were there?
Well, even again, people don't realize this. Even with the talent we had at Tennessee at that time, I feel I still had the talent to be in the starting five. But they had Bernard King. They had a guy called Mike Jackson, and these are all excellent athletes. They're great basketball players. But I consider that I was quite competitive too. They had Mike Jackson from Nashville. And then my roommate, Johnny Darden, he was the starting point guard his freshman year. Mm-hmm. And he was from Springfield, Tennessee. Okay. So you see, they had Bernie and Ernie. They had Mike Jackson from Nashville. They had Johnny Darden from Springfield. And then they had somebody else, I forget. But my freshman and sophomore year at Tennessee, I still played a lot because they seen that I had the talent to be on the court. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But really, Chase, to be honest with you, at that time I was that talented. I had plenty of opportunity to go to a university where the program would have been built around me. And it's not about me, but those are the opportunities that I had. You come in as a freshman, we're gonna build everything around you, and then, for instance, that's what Calvin Ramsey did. Mm-hmm. Went to Ohio State, played all 4 years, went to the NBA. Jim Jackson, they built it around him. Ohio State basketball, right? Went to the NBA. Dennis Hobson, Ohio State, came in as a freshman, built the program around him. So. It was a mistake, but don't get me wrong. I loved the University of Tennessee. It was a great experience. If I had to do it all over again, it wouldn't be Tennessee that I would choose. But nevertheless, I had a great time there. And then my junior and senior year were prolific. So I had a chance to play and really just to show people who Terry Crosby was and what he can do. Yeah, you guys were SEC tournament champions your senior year, 79. You guys, you signed with the Kansas City Kings at the time, now Sacramento Kings. Absolutely. You were there for a brief period of time. But then 4 games.
Right, for 4 games. Right. And then you go home and you were working at a nuclear power plant, right?
In Newport, Michigan. Well, it's funny. I was back home and I had just recently got cut from Kansas City, so I was a little down, a little depressed. And some good friends of mine, they were working at Mike Carter, who is like a father figure to me. He's Coach Carter's father. Oh, okay. Coach Brandon Carter, yeah. Okay, yeah, wow. That's his father, yeah. Small world. And then another guy, Robert Bean. Okay. They were journeymen at this nuclear site. And so they hooked up an opportunity for me to meet one of the directors at the nuclear site. And so I met him, we were talking. He was like, yeah, I heard about your career at Tennessee, blah, 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 blah. We're going to hire you as a quality control inspector, a QC. And I'm thinking, oh, my God. And really, Chase, that's how I started. And that was one of the best jobs I've ever had. It was really, really good. I was going to ask about that because it's got to be such a strange, period there in your life where you're like, I'm Terry Crosby. I played at University of Tennessee a few months ago. I'm at Kansas City Kings, and now I'm working at this nuclear power plant. I mean, it was so weird. I mean, really. And here's the thing, right? You're working on a nuclear site, so that's quite dangerous. And they kept me inside training me for like 3 months. Every day. They were paying me, but it was like intense training for 3 months, And before they would let me out in the field. And so I got my little QC hard hat on. It's got QC on the side. And I'm walking around the entire, it's right on Lake Erie.
Yeah.
The nuclear site's right on there. And I'm walking up these scaffolds, got to get in these little cubby holes, and they're up there like drilling or whatever. And here's me, haven't got a clue what I'm doing. I'm just going off spec. I'm telling journeymen that's been doing their jobs for 25, 30 years. No, according to my spec here, that's not right. You're going to have to do it again. Them people were looking at me like, are you kidding me? Who are you?
Did you guys ever get any close to any sort of disaster? I mean, obviously not, right? I mean, nothing bad ever happened over there.
Yeah, a few times we had to evacuate the nuclear site.
All right.
A few times. You know how they have the big horns?
Yeah.
They let you know like a tornado sign or something?
Sure.
Yeah, it was, I think I was there maybe 8, 9 months, and during that period of time, there was some incidents where we had to evacuate everybody had to evacuate.
Yeah, but obviously we don't really know about them, so I mean it's not like a 3 Mile Island situation. So it sounds like you did okay. 82.
I think I was blessed.
Yeah. 82, you get the call. You're going over to England. You're playing basketball there. Just what was the culture?
But to get the call.
Yeah.
And this is another story.
Sure.
I got the call from a great basketball player that was from Toledo, Start High School.
Yeah.
And his name was, he was Start High School all-time leading scorer for a while. His name is Craig Lynch.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know about him, heard about him or anything.
From the book, I know him, yeah.
Yeah. So he called me, said, hey, Crosby, what you doing? I said, I'm working right now. I'm really, really happy. I was depressed. I was like, forget basketball. I don't want to play again no more. He was like, no, I want you to come over here and play for me. Because he had been over there at the time, Craig Lynch had been over there probably 10 years and had a family. So he had a great career over in Great Britain, and he had a family over there and kids over there, and he was still the player coach. So he was still playing a little bit, but coaching as well. So that's how I got my first opportunity.
Were you worried that maybe you were going to be out of it for too long, that you weren't going to be able to jump back in and kind of still be the same scoring player that you were before?
No, because whilst I was working at Fermi 2, I always believed that I was going to someday have the opportunity to play somewhere again professionally.
So you kept yourself ready.
Shape.
Yeah.
I stayed in shape.
Gotcha.
I was putting up shots. I swim. I go work out. Make sure I was staying in physical shape. Because my mental was always going to be there. I just had to make sure I looked after my body.
Yeah. You spent 13 years in Europe. You were playing in England, Switzerland, Italy, right?
No, I was over there for 30 years in Europe.
Right, playing professionally, but then living obviously.
Right. But I had 13 seasons over there.
Right. What was that like, spending so much time over there? Did you feel it kind of rubbing off on you, the culture, whatever country you were in? You kind of felt like you became a Brit, or you became an Italian, or you became a Swiss person. Did you feel it kind of rubbing off on you?
One thing I say, Chase, it was one of my all-time greatest life experiences, just to get outside the United States of America, and it makes you realize that this world is bigger than just America, and it's worked to my advantage in so many areas. Just meeting different people, and the different cultures, living in amongst different people, different cultures, different languages, different food, just different lifestyles. You know what I mean? But I've always been the type that I take risks, okay? And because of that, I'm a little bit daring, you know what I mean? And, I kind of have the winner's mentality that wherever I go and whatever I do, you're not going to beat me, right? I'm going to stick it out. So, yeah, it was tough over there. There's so many Americans, because at the time you could only have 2 Americans per team. Just to kind of, make it equal amongst the league.
Right.
And so many Americans would fly in, man, stay there a month. Oh, I can't do this. Boom, back on the plane, back home to mama, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. They're like, what you doing, TC? I say, I'm staying, year after year, and eventually I got accustomed to it. But when I came back here, when I used to come back here to visit, I had a very strong British accent.
So that's kind of what I was getting at. I was like, did you have an accent? Did you pick stuff up?
Yeah, I had a very strong. My friends and partners would say, what's wrong with this dude? Why are you talking like that?
So what are some of the English words that maybe you picked up, you started saying that you weren't, when you're here in America?
Hey, mate, how you doing, mate?
There's a lot of mate,
yeah, mate. And did you put that in the bin? Okay, the bin is the garbage can, I don't know. Did you check the boot of your car? The boot is the trunk, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. So different, just different terminologies for the same meaning. You know what I mean? But I had a really, and in fact, I have a recording, a British recording of me. Somebody interviewed me when I came home. Because every time I came home, people knew I was coming home. Yeah. And they would interview me, like Tom Cole for BCSN and various other people, the WTL, Channel 11. And I still have some of those videos, man, and I just crack up when I listen to them.
Yeah, you've really, because you've been back now for how long? About 13 years, something like that?
Since 2012.
Yeah.
Yep, 13 years.
Yeah, so it's kind of dissolved, you kind of back to your fully American kind of accent.
Absolutely. But if I tell you, Chase, if I go back over there and spend, let's say, a month,
you're going to pick it back up.
You'll hear some of that British twang. Yeah. And even to today, people say that certain words that I pronounce, they tease me and go, that was a little British, wasn't it?
Like I said, you've been back here for a while. What's it like just, like you said, you spent 30 years over there in Europe and just kind of adjusting back. Did you feel like you had to reacclimate yourself or was it pretty natural because it was just Toledo? No, you had to reacclimate.
No, yeah, it was tough when I first got back here. I just, I got out of it. I hadn't been here for a while, and I always enjoyed my visits. I would come back pretty much every year. Yeah. But to come back and physically and mentally live, that was a whole different thing, and so it was tough for me. It was tough to adjust. It was completely different. People think that Great Britain and America is so much alike. That's not necessarily true. And I tell you why, just because we speak the language, that doesn't mean, they call us kissing cousins. Yeah. That's what they call America and Great Britain, but it's completely different. And then, going to Switzerland, going to Florence, Italy, where I had the opportunity to play VC France, that was even more of a culture shock than Great Britain. Yeah. So it was tough when I first got back here.
Yeah, you got diagnosed with a large heart a few years ago.
I did.
What has been day-to-day life like for that? I know I was asking you earlier, do you still get shots up? But I imagine it's some physical activity you got to be careful with because of the enlarged heart, right?
Absolutely, and I'm not ashamed to mention to anybody because as we get older, everybody's going to go through something. You're going to get diabetes or blood pressure or something. But that was a real hard pill for me to swallow because I've been so active all my life, and the cardiologist was just saying, hey, you've put your heart under a lot of stress during your life, playing in athletics. And I guess it's because of that, it's expanded. And when your heart expands, it makes it harder to breathe because your heart has to work more than normal. Yeah. So my heart right now is probably at 60% of its capacity.
Yeah. Anything else that?
But that doesn't stop me.
Sure. Yeah. No. Like you said, I mean, you're staying active. You're out there. You're walking. You get your 10,000 steps in. You're doing your miles. It's all great. Any other just closing thought as we wrap up here? Just anything else on just kind of the way you have kind of seen Toledo change in the 30 years you were gone, 10 years you've been back. Stuff has obviously changed a lot from when you were growing up.
It has. I think one of the things I'm really blessed for is, I've been at Taylor Automotive Family for 6 years now as a community ambassador, and it's just a great job. I mean, it suits me. I'm working with Tom, Mary Helen, Joan, and the other ambassadors. And, I just love making a difference in people's lives and giving back to our community where we can. And I really want to be, I'm really blessed to do what I do now that I am back home living. But I really want people not necessarily to remember me from my athletics, but to remember me more and how I try to help people. Because that's in my heart, you know what I mean? And I always say, I would do whatever I can, whenever I can, for as long as I can.
Absolutely.
And that kind of aligns with the job that I'm doing now with Taylor.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're leaving your mark on this community. So
I appreciate
Terry,
it.
thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Chase. Really
Appreciate
nice,
it. Yeah,
man.
this was awesome.
It.
Thank you again. We'll hope to have you on again sometime soon.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Chasing the Game. You can check out our other episodes on the WTOL 11 Plus app. You can also find us on YouTube and on Spotify. And we'll see you guys next time.